Eye of the Storm, Tale of the Horse. On this Halloween episode, we list those who felt no remorse. Brigands, robbers, and some women who did not love true, all trying to stop the Cartwrights from doing what they do. Each one of them caused us viewers much stress, and we wish when they did finally leave, they had gone in a blue dress. These are just 10 of many names that would do, but these are some of my favorites. Tell me at the end, how about you? Like and subscribe, leave me a comment if you will. Those who know YouTube know that the algorithm can kill. To celebrate Spooky Month, I did my best to list some of the worst baddies on the Ponderosa, located in the Nevada West. Number 10. Madame de Marigny. We meet this proper New Orleans woman in the flashback episode Marie, My Love. Ben meets his third wife, Joe's mother, in this episode, and then he meets her former monster-in-law. She is the mother of Marie's former husband, Jean, who left Marie years earlier because he believed her unfaithful. Who was the mastermind of this false narrative? None other than the grandmother herself. In order to make her son abandon the woman she felt was beneath him so much so that they had to wed in secret, she arranges with Marie's own cousin to hire a man to get into Marie's bed when she was alone, just in time for Jean to come home and get the wrong idea. To top it all off, after Jean left, Marie discovered she was pregnant with Joe's older brother Clay, who was then stolen by his grandmother, Marie being told he died. Most grandmas give their grandkids too many sweets. This one steals the kid. Number 9. William Johnson. This man isn't a preacher, but he sure wishes he was one. In Song in the Dark, a rather eccentric friend of Adam's is accused of murdering a widow who ran a poker game from her home. She is strangled, and it is assumed Adam's friend Danny did it because he's a powerful man who had scratches on his arm. The Cartwrights' neighbors, the Johnsons, are introduced as a bigoted man who follows his faith whereinsofar as it serves his purpose. His wife, a kind lady who was very lonely, tries to befriend Danny. One night she discovers a stash of widow cash hidden in a pulpit that her husband just likes to carry around like a wooden security blanket. When he finds her snooping, he sends her flying down the stairs, killing her too. He tries to pin that on Danny as well, until Adam plays crazy to match the not-a-preacher, and causing him to confess. Number 8. Regan Miller. I think I speak for most of the fandom when I say that some of the worst characters are the ones who try to drive the Cartwrights apart. Not many have done it better than the tart, straight out of San Francisco, Regan Miller. Ms. Miller comes to Virginia City, fresh off her many man conquests, to ask her sister to take her in. Her sister, who's lost a man to Regan's antics, reluctantly agrees. Regan is introduced to Hoss, who falls in love. As luck, good or bad, would have it, Adam is just returning from San Francisco when he finds out his brother intends to marry this woman, who he has heard much about. She must have been pretty good at her craft to be so well known in a big city like that. Sheesh. Adam rides over to inform her that she needs to tell Hoss the truth, or he will. She decides to use her tricks, that hadn't failed her yet, on Adam. As any fan would have already guessed, it doesn't work. It still benefits her, however, since Hoss arrives just in time to see the wrong end of it. When Adam returns home that night, Hoss and his fists are awaiting him. To add further insult, later on that night, as a party is thrown for the young couple, Regan tells Hoss that Adam basically forced it on her. What a sweet girl. Number 7. Pete Jessup. You know I had to add at least one James Coburn baddie to this list. Here he is. The hired hand of the neighbor who Ben is feuding with, Luther Bishop. Unbeknownst to either faction, old Petey is working behind the scenes to fuel the fire. To make matters worse, he's a bit of a peeping Tom, watching Luther's young daughter Amy a little too closely. Amy winds up falling in love with Joe, and the foreman does not like that at all. When it looks like the differences between the families are going to be settled, he springs into action, attacking Amy when he figures she'll be alone for a while. Joe gets there in time to fight with the man, but Jessup throws a pitchfork and it hits Amy, killing her, and he gives Joe a nasty blister on his eye. Number 6. Lady Linda, Countess of Chadwick. The fine lady was once a young woman Ben courted, and she turned him down, leading him to marry Marie later on instead. Now she's back and expecting the red carpet rolled out for her. Around the time of her arrival, things start going wrong on the ranch, from fires to men quitting if they don't get paid every day. Just when things are at their worst, the boys begin to suspect it's her behind it. Ben tells them not to be stupid and won't hear of it. That is, until he finds out for himself, resulting in the finest ousting of a character I have ever seen. She does not handle confrontation well. Now there's a woman who can dish out rejection, but won't stand for it. Number 5. Captain Moss Johnson. There's nothing worse than hate when it's wearing a uniform. The Cartwrights are ambushed along with an army captain in the desert by Cochise and the Apaches. He blames the Indians, but they're chasing him because he poisoned some of the tribe's family members under the guise of a peace treaty. He goes on to justify his actions right up until he's carted off to be punished. In the meantime, he spews hatred and even tries to take water away from a wounded Adam. DeForest Kelley does a wonderful job of making it difficult to know if he had the hate already, or was it just ignited by the years in the army. Either way, he's a disgusting character and deserves his place on this list. Number 4. Helen Layton. Why can't Hoss catch a break? He and Joe are sent to the widow of a late friend of Ben's to help her. Hoss falls in love, and she sees a meal ticket to pay for her gambling addiction. The same addiction is what caused her husband to drink until it killed him. Once again, it's Adam with the information to tell Hoss he's making a huge mistake. He was at the funeral and knew what really happened from multiple sources. He and Joe devise a plan to show Hoss the truth by offering to stake her in a game to get back her losses. Hoss sees this go down and is so upset that he punches both of his brothers. This fine person then proceeds to walk right past Hoss like she doesn't even know him, and to some random man who takes up with her in full view and the broken heart of the Ponderosa teddy bear. She shows no signs of guilt, just a desire to find the next stake. Sucker. Number 3. Pool the Thunderman. This next one is a great reason for not keeping your doors unlocked when there's a killer on the loose in your town. The Cartwrights hire an explosives man to help them clear some trees on the Ponderosa without knowing that he's a serial woman assaulter. He runs into Joe's lady friend and her father on the way to Joe's birthday party when the man has just had a heart attack. He tells her that her father has died and proceeds to assault her before murdering her. The father is actually still alive, but unable to move or speak. I can't even imagine. Later on, Poole is working for a widow just as she starts to piece together that he is the killer, so he snaps her neck in two and blows up the body with nitro. Some people just love to bring their work home with them. Number 2. Peter Kane. It's Lee Marvin, first off. Let's just all agree that nobody else could have done this but him. Adam is robbed in the desert and left for dead when he stumbles on the camp of a prospector who is completely off his bird and looking for a suicide by cop type of deal, and primes Adam for the job by playing mind games and working him nearly to death while taking more and more of his food and water every day until he claims there is none left. He degrades Adam by making him eat with his fingers, tying him up at night, and talking down to him. The final straw is when Adam hears his family calling for him and tries to get to where he can respond, when Kane pulls him down and makes him pass out, missing his chance. I hadn't thought to add a character with suspected mental illness to this list, but how can you not add Kane to a group like this? Speaking of mental illness, our number 1 spot. He fought our number 2 spot because they're very similar. They duked it out from beyond the grave, and this is how it ended up. Number 1. Corporal Tanner. In this final episode of Bonanza, Joe is hunted by a madman who was once a tracker for the army. He has no issues with Joe as a person, he only wishes to hunt a human being and kill them for sport. What's wrong with that? We get his internal dialogue, which makes him that much scarier than Peter Kane. We know that he looks at this matter-of-factly and never feels a shred of empathy for Joe, who is running for his life, on foot. He, in the end, is trapped like a helpless animal, but for Joe, this was self-defense. So, there we have it. Those are the 10 who jumped out at me. Who did I miss? Who should have had the number 1 spot? Or a different number entirely? Let me know your thoughts. And happy Halloween. Different number entirely. Let me know your thoughts. And happy Halloween.